Welcome to day 28 of Reinvent Your Career in 30-Day Challenge. My God, we've only got 2 days left. We're going to be wrapping things up tomorrow, but today, day 28, we're going to talk about something that's very important, and that is to set up your own consulting company. Who's got at least 10 years of experience, you set up a consulting company in your own name. Don't make the mistakes that I did and set it up in a platform. I set my company up at one point called Huth Turnkey USA many years ago. And then I set my business up as the title of my book. And then finally, I've had to evolve into my own name. DianeHuth.com is my platform today. But if you've got at least 10 years of experience, you're a good professional in your field, set up your own consulting company. And there's a couple reasons. Number one, it's perfect for branding. You become a brand, your company name is available by search, your name is available in search. There's a lot of advantages to having your own website for branding. People can find it. You can make a website, a very simple 3 to 5 page website that talks about what you do for other people, that talks about, gives your experience. So it's like a living resume online, and you can talk about the kind of things that you do. I help companies do so-and-so. You can showcase the companies that you've worked for or worked with or supported, and you can also do this with nonprofits. So if you've done nonprofit roles like that, you also work that in that area so that you can showcase those as clients. As a consultant, you support nonprofits, and so therefore you can put that nonprofit engagement in your business customer list. And there's contact information. I think you should always have a plan B, and to me, your own company is a plan B, and you also have to have a plan C and a plan D, but having your own consulting company is one of those. And it's really easy, just a couple of very simple steps. Costs you virtually nothing, very, very little. Don't get taken in with the fact that I have to hire a web designer, I have to do all this stuff, it's going to cost me thousands, and I need an attorney. You don't need to incorporate, you don't need an LLC. You can work always as a sole practitioner in your own name. So you just set up a company, DianeHuth.com, Diane Huth Consulting Services, Diane Huth Marketing and Branding Services. As long as your name is in it, you don't need a fictitious name. Now, you have to check with the Secretary of State in the state that you live, because they're going to have different rules for corporations and business communities. But as a general rule, if it is your name, John Smith Taylor, I'm a tailor, or whatever the services you do, you don't generally need a fictitious name. It's very easy to get a fictitious name. They're not expensive. You go to the Secretary of State in the state that you live. If, for example, you want a name that's not your own, you could even do your own. I guess you could try that. Why not? And I think it's like $35, and you do a certificate. You can do a search online within the states. Now, this is a state prerogative. Trademarks are federal, okay? But corporate names are at a state level. So you go to your local Secretary of State, and they have a corporations page generally, or a business page, and they're going to tell you how to do a fictitious name search. You can just search their database for that name that you want in the state. If it's available, then you just register it right online. It's like $35 in Texas. Most states make it very inexpensive for a fictitious name, but you don't really even need to have a fictitious name if you use your own name. And you should, by now, if you haven't already done it, go out and register the domain names for yourself. Register your own name, DianeHuth.com, whatever it is, JohnJones.com. And you go to GoDaddy, and it's like $10 a year, and they have all sorts of great deals. And so you just go and you register your domain name, and you set up a company in your name, DianeHuthConsulting.com, DianeHuthAuthor.com. So I have all those domain names so I can use them in different platforms. And more importantly, nobody else can use it. So nobody can copy who I am and try and write off my brand, because I have those key domain names of my name protected. So you want to set up a company in your own name, and it's very simple. You can get a fictitious name, or you just set it up, and you don't even have to do any tax things, because on your tax day, it's gonna say, do you have your own business? Yes. And then you write it off as write your own company as if a job you're working for it. Some of the advantages are, if you do generate income, you can write off significant amount of home office expenses, including part of your rent if you rent. I have never wanted to take the home office deduction for houses that I own, because they keep messing around with those tax issues. And at some point, like if you expensed part of like your home office and then you sold your house in a certain period of time, then that was considered income producing property and you couldn't write it off on taxes. You might have a tax bill. So I personally am not a tax attorney. I don't know. I have personally avoided doing that. You should consult with an attorney and with a tax expert and with an attorney, CPA, if you have questions about this. But generally, it's very easy to be a sole practitioner working out of your own name. So make sure you register your domain name. Make sure you register all your social media pages. That's part of your branding. Remember, you are a brand, so you have to have all your social media pages, including LinkedIn, in your name. And if your name is John Jones, you're going to be in trouble, because there's probably going to be lots of those. You might need middle initials. You might need middle names. You might need descriptors. John Jones CPA, for example, John Jones TX CPA, if that's what it takes. So make sure you have a domain name that's easy to remember, that's in your own name, and then you build a 3 to 5 page website. And I always use GoDaddy because it's an outstanding service. I've changed everything over to GoDaddy. I maintain over 150 domain names because I've always got these projects that I'm working on. But they're wonderful. They give you customer service in English 24 hours a day by Americans living in the United States, and provide outstanding service. And I would never use any other domain platform other than GoDaddy. GoDaddy has a whole bunch of wonderful integrations. And part of that is they have a website builder right in the platform. That's kind of a WYSIWYG type thing. It's easy. They have all these wonderful templates, and you just pick a design and a look and feel, and then it pops up, and you can create your own website in 4 hours or less. It is that easy. You don't need anything fancy. You're not going to set up an e-commerce store. You don't need a shopping cart and all that stuff. You're using this as a branding platform. And your 4 pages are going to be about me. Okay. And first is going to be your offer page. Like, I can help you do this and this and this and this and this. Okay. So you're telling people what you can do for them. Think of your elevator pitch. It's the same as your elevator pitch. Think of your, basically your elevator pitch, where you're presenting, this is what I can do for you, right? And then this is what I've done before. This is approved. So this is my background. This is my career history. This is my education. And you have pictures, and then you have contact information. And basically, you just want to use this as an online platform. Maybe you can do some consulting work for a nonprofit, and you can list it there. So your volunteer work, organizing events or things for nonprofit. You can also pick up some small consulting assignments and put them there. Even if it's for family and friends, you want to showcase what you've done. And then you can, hopefully someday, maybe you'll make money doing it. Maybe someone will see that and hire you. And then it starts getting more serious, because once you have business, revenue coming in your company, then you need to worry about things like taxes and liability insurance and things like that. But I just think having your own company is wonderful from a job search viewpoint, because it lets you bypass human resources and go right to the hiring manager. You can't do that if you're applying for a job through human resources. When you go through human resources is the gatekeeper, and they're filtering out who can and can't get in. And remember, you started with 200 people starting to apply for a job, and you're down to 15 who get through the 7-second scan, and then you're one of the candidates. You got to be real careful, because you can't bypass human resources without making people angry and maybe losing your chance. But if you come in to the hiring manager as a peer, as an equal, as a consultant, as another professional working in the field, offering inside help, etc., then you just skip human resources altogether and you go directly to the hiring manager and you engage with the hiring manager. And you can actually get hired right then and there as a consultant by the hiring manager, whereas it takes a lot of approvals and a lot of hassles to get somebody in through HR and clearances. The right hiring manager can say, hey, I really need those skills. I'd like to hire you as a consultant, as a part-time worker, on a project basis, something like that. And then they can get to know you and how valuable you are. And then they can decide to just hire you outright later on once they've given you a trial run through your consulting role. So I think that's wonderful. I've been hired 2 or 3 different times, 3 different companies by doing that. I started as a consultant. They fell in love with me, and then they hired me. And that's a real good way to go. Another thing that happened is I had a small consulting company. I had a couple of clients, small ones, and then I got hired away to go to a different city for a well-paying job as a vice president of marketing for a big corporation. And so what was I going to do with that client? Well, it was a company. So I had a gal who was working for me, and I simply promoted her to the account manager. I gave her 2/3 of the consulting assignment. So I was making like $3,000 a month. This was 20 years ago. So I was making $3,000 a month. So I paid her $2,000. She ran the business. She was there in the same town. I moved. I left. I wasn't there anymore, and this was before you could do video conferencing and all this, but I had my company employee on a contract basis serve the client for another 2 years, and I generated $1,000 a month revenue on it. And my friend who took over the account was perfectly happy generating $2,000 as a part-time consulting gig while she was working at home. So there's a whole bunch of advantages to having your own consulting company. It gives you a lot more flexibility. It also helps cover up some voids in your resume. You know, people are really fussy about resume dates. Sometimes today they want months. Like, I don't remember what month I went to work for somebody 25 years ago. I have no clue. That's, past history. But some people are actually asking for dates, and they're looking, if you had a 2-month gap, but having your own company helps to cover that over, because you can always say, oh, well, I was working on this project or something, or you have this, your own company gives you that time span. So my Huth Turnkey USA, which is my consulting company, goes back to 2001. So I'm still the president of this company from 2001 to today. And I've had these other jobs in between, which have been very good jobs. So there's a lot of things you can do with your own consulting company. I have a whole chapter in my book, Reinvent Your Career, Beat Age Discrimination to Land Your Dream Job. I think it starts at page 59. And it goes over basically step by step, how you start your own consulting company. So in the book, I explain all this to you, explain the website, the different things. And then if you want to consult for startup, there's some tricky things there I talk about there too. So you want to make sure that you have a domain name, you have a company, you have your social media pages. Really easy to make a really simple informational website. You want to have a personalized email that you can get off of that website. So I have Diane@DianeHuth.com. And then I'm setting up Diane Huth at DianeHuth.com for media interviews. And so when I send out press releases and things, I use that. So I know that anything that comes into that email is about a media interview. And then my virtual assistant can access that account, and she can email on my behalf under my name. So you want to have your own name. You might want to have several versions of your name, like mine, Diane at Diane Huth, Diane Huth at Diane Huth. And you might have info at Diane Huth, which is something an administrative assistant or somebody who could work on. And you have your email, then you have to have a business card. You want to put branding around this. You create your brand, which is, remember, you have to have a great photo. You have your business cards. You have a graphic design. You have colors and fonts and a look and a feel. And so you want to extend that into your business card, into your personal branding, into your website. You want to make sure your resume, is consistent. So consistency of brand is really important. So you're going to have a website. You're going to have a bio on your website, of course. You're going to have your business card, and you got some branding on top of it. And that's really all you need to set up your own consulting company. It's going to cost you $100, maybe $200 a year because you've got your hosting for your website, which is 100 and something. Then you got your $10 a year for your domain name, and you might want several domain names. So, and you can take multiple domain names. So if you have DianeHuth.com, Diane Huth Speaker, Diane Huth Info, Diane Huth Author, I can have all of those redirected through GoDaddy to land on the same page. So you can have multiple web domain addresses and they all end up on your same web page through redirecting. And so you don't miss any of that traffic and nobody can knock you off and try and use your name. So that's how I really strongly suggest you consider your own company. It gives you a lot of flexibility, gives you the ability to write off expenses if you're generating money. Now, if you're not making any money, you don't get to deduct it from your taxes. So you have to be careful and consult with a tax accounting. So we've only got 2 days left. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about the future, and it's going to be very interesting. If you have any questions for me or anything you'd like me to talk about or any topics you'd like me to address that I haven't covered yet, put them in the chat below or send me a message to Diane@DianeHuth.com, and I'll make sure that in the next 2 days, we'll address those issues. So for now, I want you to go inside the challenge. There's some materials in there, including an ebook on how to set up your own consulting company, but you have to go inside the challenge to find it. And there's another video, a video training. And then I will meet you back here tomorrow for day 29 to talk about your future. This is Diane Huth, the Accidental Career Coach, wishing you the best of career success. I will talk to you tomorrow.